Now that you've learned the basic technical functions of the iPhone camera, it's time to take on the bigger picture of how to use whatever camera you have to take good video. I've used lots of cameras over the years, and the good news is that an iPhone or other smartphones have just as good a picture as some of the professional cameras I've used over the years that cost thousands of dollars. So let's get into some of the camera basics on how to shoot great video. You might not have thought about it, but one of the most important aspects of good video is to keep the camera steady. We'll call this the stability in the horizon. Keeping this camera steady and limiting unnecessary movement is critical to make your video look more professional. If you have a tripod, that's great. If not, then use something else to keep the camera steady and support it. Pay attention to vertical lines and make sure the horizon is level and not slanted. Because we're shooting in a camera that makes everything in a box, every line is accentuated, so it makes it look like it's much more crooked than it actually is. So pay attention to all the lines you can see in the viewfinder. Make sure you keep it as steady as you can and keep that level horizon so people aren't leaning as they look at your video. Tables, chairs, railings, fences, any of these things can work as a makeshift tripod in a pinch. Resting the phone on the ground can make for some great shots as well. Now, if you don't have a heady chair or table or a tripod, the next best thing is to find something you can lean on. That could be a wall or a post or something like that to help keep you steady. Keep your arms tucked in and close to your body. If you extend them out, your arms will start to shake really quickly and it will make the video very shaky. So make sure you keep your arms close to your body. Don't tense up. Try to take a deep breath and be relaxed as you shoot the video. One of the tricks is that the closer you are to whatever you're shooting, the less movement there will be in the camera. Even though there are many ways to keep the camera steady without a tripod, I highly recommend that you get one if you can. Now, there are a wide variety of tripods, and almost any tripod is better than none. Tabletop tripods are available for less than $10. You can pick up a usable tripod at a big box retailer or online for under $30. Selfie sticks aren't just for selfies, they can be used as a monopod for resting the handle on the ground. And a solid tripod with a fluid head, well, that'll start you about $150 and go up from there. However, if you limit your tilts and pans, a budget tripod will be more than adequate for most all of your shooting. A really important part of video basics is framing. All shots are framed using what's called the rule of thirds. According to this rule, you divide an image into 9 equal parts by 2 equally spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines. You should place the essential image elements along these lines or where the lines intersect, as you can see in the images. Of course, lighting is just as important. Lighting is more than just the brightness and darkness of a video clip, although those are very important. Lighting also creates the mood and tone of the video. Make sure the person or object you are shooting is appropriately exposed and that what you want to be seen is what's lighted the best in your frame. White balance is a critical part of shooting good video. White balance is a feature in video cameras used to balance color accurately. It defines what the color white looks like in specific lighting conditions, which also affects the hue of all the other colors. There's usually an auto white balance, or AWB, and settings for sunlight, fluorescent light, and so on. Some camera apps allow you to set the white balance manually. Now, focus is partly a review of what we talked about earlier, but make sure you adjust the camera framing and settings so you can see the primary person or object in the video frame. For an interview, for example, make sure the eyes are in focus. Learn how to set and lock the focus on your camera app. If you don't, the camera will keep searching for something to focus on and it might waffle back and forth, leaving you with poor quality video. Let's talk about zooming with your feet. Zooming by itself is not a bad thing. It's good to get tight shots. As a rule of thumb, rarely zoom with a smartphone. The zoom is typically a digital zoom, which electronically magnifies the picture. Cameras with lenses use an optical zoom, which will not degrade the image, but it will change the overall composition. Instead of using the zoom function, zoom with your feet. Physically get closer to whatever you are shooting. This will maintain the picture quality and is a good practice even with quality cameras and lenses. Now it's time to review what we've learned. Try to answer these questions before you get the answers here in just a minute. So what is the preferred way to zoom in for a closer shot? What does white balance do? Do most cameras have an auto white balance? What is the rule of thirds? Using a tripod is best for keeping the camera steady. If you don't have a tripod, what are 2 other options? And what is the horizon? Again, try to answer these questions before I give you the answers. Okay, let's review the answers to the questions. The preferred way to zoom in for a closer shot is to zoom with your feet. Physically get closer to whatever you're shooting. What does white balance do? Remember, that's the feature in video cameras used to balance color accurately. White balance sets the camera image to make the colors correct under the current lighting conditions. Do most cameras have an auto white balance? Yes, they do, and you should find out where it is. What is the rule of thirds? By dividing an image into thirds horizontally and vertically, you make the image look more aesthetically pleasing by placing the essential image elements along the grid lines or where the lines intersect. Using a tripod is best for keeping the camera steady, but if you don't have a tripod, what are two other options? One is to rest the camera on something, and another is to hold the camera close with your arms close to your body. And lastly, what is the horizon? The horizon is simply the levelness of the camera frame. An unlevel horizon gives the illusion that everything in the frame is leaning.